Hello and welcome to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Doster. I have Clemson's own Terrence Oglesby here with me, and we have to talk about the Tigers. It is going to be a little bit of a new situation here for Brad Brunell. The one thing that I think Clemson has done, and Brad has done better than just about any other program in the sport, right? I think they're probably top five in their ability to retain and develop and improve and get guys to go from being kind of under the radar recruits to being all conference caliber players at the high major level, right? We saw it with Ian Shefflin, we saw it with Chase Hunter, we saw it with PJ Hall before that. They are just very, very good. That staff is at developing guys. The hard part is when you got like four seniors that you develop that all happen to graduate at the same time and you got to reload in one fell swoop. Clemson is bringing back one guy from last year's team, and he played a grand total of 22.6 minutes last year. They've got some interesting ads from the portal. Nick Davidson out of Nevada. I know you love him as the Mountain West guy here on the Field of 68. Carter Welling from Utah Valley.
Yep,
Uh,
stud.
how can you not go all in on a dude named Butta Johnson? Okay, like he's got to be all. If your name is Butta Johnson, like you better be a stud. Justin Porter from Middle Tennessee State, and they've also brought in six freshmen, two of whom are redshirt freshmen. So here's my take, T.O. I want your opinion on this. I think that this year is Brad Rennell trying to fill some gaps, trying to make sure that they're not terrible this season while building from the ground up again with this recruiting class that he brought in, all these freshmen that he has. Am I correct in that assumption?
Here's the thing: over the last few years, it has been PJ Hall, Ian Shefflin, Chase Hunter, guys that have been around. Prior to that, though, I thought the Tigers had done a really good job of bringing in transfers. So you look back at some of the guys that they had from their Sweet 16 run when I was on staff. I think it was 16, 17. It was like Shelton Mitchell, who transferred from Vanderbilt, Marquise Reed from Robert Morris. You had Eli Thomas that came from Texas A&M. So they've done it before. It's not a matter of if they've done it before. It's just how are they going to be able to meld and piece all these guys together? I don't think it's foreign territory necessarily. I do think the positive aspect is you mentioned some of those transfers, but getting RJ Godfrey back from Georgia, he's what do they call that? A Marfo? Isn't that what they
Yeah,
call it?
a Marfo.
A Marfo, like he goes and then goes back to his original destination. He finally gets to start. He's going to be healthy. He's a great locker room guy. He knows how this system works. So bringing him back, and then when your key returner is a senior and he's your point guard, that also helps. So now I think you look at some of the talent the front court has, because I think that the front court has legitimate talent. Nick Davidson's a very good player. He was listed at 16 at Nevada. That's probably not true. He's probably closer to 6'9", a little smaller than that. Carter Welling, for those who haven't watched tape of this young man, oh my. I mean, he looks like a pro. And I don't know if it's going to come to fruition this year, but you go back and watch some of his games from last season. He's putting it on the deck. He's getting to spots. He's 6'10, 6'11, athletic, can shoot the three. So he does a lot of those things that Clemson has done well with over the past few seasons in an inside out kind of versatile offensive weapon. And that's what they did with the majority of their front court. They have one bruiser, and that's Godfrey coming back, who's replacing Ian Shefflin, who's got his whole host of problems on the football team right now. So I say all that to say this: I am not so worried about the front court. It's the back court and putting the pieces together that I'm a little bit more apprehensive about. You look at Dylan Hunter, very good player, and the team was much better with him on the floor last year. But at the same time, Butta Johnson's stats, they don't scream at you. Justin Porter is an undersized scoring guard, and he's not a point guard. He is an undersized scoring guard. I think he averaged like 16 points a game last year at MTSU, was a really good player. 15 points a game, 3 boards and an assist. He's looking to score. So I will say that Brad has done well with guards like that, undersized scorers. You look back at Marquise Reed, for example. But how is this all going to fit together? That's my biggest question. But the biggest question is the backcourt.
Yeah, I'm with you on the bigs, right? Like I think it's really interesting that he brought in three guys that are 6'9" or taller that all shot better than 36% from three on multiple attempts per game, right? It's pretty clear what he wants out of his front court based off of who they went out and they got.
Yep.
I just don't know who you have that is going to be able to set those guys up. And my guess is that Dylan Hunter is the guy that they're hoping will be able to step into that role and fill that role. But he's also a guy that has he averaged multiple assists per game in his career yet at Clemson? A lot of that probably has to do with the fact that his brother was on the team with him in those years. But to me, and we can talk about X factors here, to me, that is the X factor for this group. Who's going to step up and be the point guard? Who's going to step up and be the table setter? Because you got guys that can finish off actions, right? You got guys that can make open threes. You got guys that can score. Who's going to be the guy that sets them up and puts them in a spot to be able to get those shots?
Uh, I would argue more so Clemson doesn't run a ton of ball screen stuff, and Brad never really has. Every now and then they'll run some false movement to get a ball screen, but who is going to be that guy if they decide to do that? I would look more so, are you going to use a 5-man as your hub of the offense? I think that's something that we're going to see more and more with this team, because you look at Carter Welling, skilled on the perimeter, can do some of those things. You look at Nick Davidson, we know he's skilled on the perimeter and he's going to run the right things and he's really smart. So you add all those pieces into the puzzle, and I feel like you're going to have more of a playmaker at the 5 than a typical one that's going to get into the paint, collapse the defense, and do all those things.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. So Nick Davidson, right? You got him coming in from Nevada. We've seen a lot of big guys in that kind of 4/5 mold have success for Brad Brunell. Is he the next guy in that kind of pipeline? That you mentioned Elijah Thomas. I mentioned PJ Hall. We all remember Ian Shefflin, how good he was. So is Nick Davidson the guy that can kind of fill that role for Brad this season?
I think he can do some of those things from the perimeter, and that you can give it to him at the top of the key and he can survey the floor. He can survey those cutters going away, or, some of these, we used to call it guard over actions, to where, you either have the guy in the corner curl around to the basket, or he comes straight off for a handoff, or, you go side pick and rolls. Like, he's smart enough to process all those things quickly. I think that's a big thing. You also look at Carter Welling, and it's hard not to get excited about this guy the more you watch him. Just because, he averaged 13 and 6 last year at Utah Valley. And you wonder, like, is that going to translate? Well, as far as being that guy, the strides translate, the skill translates, the jump shot translates. Can they be the person to facilitate your actions? I think yes, especially because I think whenever they've been taking in transfers prior to the whole NIL thing, they've been having to piece, like, this guy's a scorer, this guy can be a setup guy, this guy can do all this. One thing that coaching staff is adaptable. So I'm intrigued to see who they put in those spots. And then I'm also intrigued because you can throw the ball to RJ Godfrey down low and you can get an easy bucket or two. So the front court, really, really good.
What is your X factor for this group?
I'm going to go a little bit off the radar here, because we know about Butta Johnson, Justin Porter, Dylan Hunter, all good older players. The guy that I've heard a lot of really good things about, and I saw him play for the Atlanta Celtics a couple of years ago as a freshman coming in, named Zach Foster. He's the younger brother of Marcus Foster, who played at Furman, transferred up, and played for Sean Miller at Xavier this past season. Okay. He has all those intangibles, really good looking jump shot, a different kind of athlete. How quick can he get going? And really, to be honest, like, how well are your guards going to shoot the basketball? I think that's a big X factor as well. And it's not just one guy, but if I had to pinpoint a guy besides that, I would say the emergence of Dylan Hunter as a shot maker, because he's never really been that. Shot 31% last year. And like I said, the team was better with him on the floor, but only a 31% 3-point shooter. He has the size. He's a setup guy. He's safe. But to add a layer to his game, he's got to be able to shoot the ball better.
How hard is it to make that adjustment as a player, where you go from being kind of like the role guy, the glue guy, to being more of a featured role offensively?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Rob. I always thought I was a star, wrongly so. So, like, making that adjustment never really clicked. But no, I think for this team in particular, because the offense is going to work for you so much, it's just a matter of taking the open shot when it becomes available. It's not necessarily like I have to take the bull by the horns and make something happen. It's opportunities are going to present themselves to me more often this season. Am I going to be ready to capitalize? And I think Dylan Hunter is very much in that position.
Expectations, right? We've seen Clemson, they got an Elite Eight on their resume in recent years. They've been competing for ACC championships in recent seasons. It is, I think it's very reasonable to expect a team that lost what they lost this offseason to take something of a step back in a year where, we've been saying it for a couple seasons, but I think that the ACC is like, I think we're looking more like 5, 6, 7 tournament
Yeah.
teams this year. I think that the top is going to be really good. Where do you see Clemson kind of falling in that pecking order? And what does a successful season for Clemson look like this year?
Here's the deal. Clemson went 18-2 in conference last year. All-time great season in conference play. All-time great season. 27-7. They end up with a 5 seed, and they lose in the first round to a McNeese team that was full of bravado, whatever. I don't think they go 18-2 this year. I do think we're hovering right around that bubble line. And whenever you say that, that 5, 6, 7 range in the conference is very much possible. And the thing is when you first look at the backcourt, you're like, man, backcourts win in the ACC. I keep coming back to Brad's done more with less because these guys are good. They're just not, Chase Hunter's on a two-way. I think he's exhibit 10 with the Pelicans. Like, this guy's a really good player. PJ Hall just signed a two-way with Memphis Grizzlies. Like, you look at all these players that have left, entirely possible that, Clemson's in the tournament again, but I think it might be a little bit closer than what we've become accustomed to over the last 2 or 3 seasons because they have been that good. And it's a matter of which guard steps up because you have to have something on the perimeter.
Yeah, that's kind of where I tend to land with it. I think I've told you what my theory is with Clemson in that I don't think that the kind of player or the caliber of player that they've been recruiting has really changed all that much over the course of Brad's tenure. I think that he went from being in a league that was one of the best power conferences in America to being a league that was a little bit more wide open in recent years. And he was just kind of like, this team has been steady. They've been what they are. And they happen to be able to rise up in the ACC ranks because everybody else came down. And my take is that you're not going to have all that much difference, right? Like, I just feel like at this point, Clemson is what Clemson is going to be. They're going to be well coached. They're going to run their shit. They're going to guard you, and you're not like they're not going to be a team that beats themselves. You still got to go out and beat them, and that's going to be doable when you don't have, 5th and 6th year pros on the roster.
That's a great way of putting that. You have to beat Clemson. You can't just show up and win. Like, you have to beat them and you have to out tough them, and that's always going to be the case.
Yep. And when you run into a situation where you're playing teams that have 2, 3, 4 NBA players or potential All-Americans on the roster, it might be tough for this year's Clemson team. But there's a lot of teams in the ACC that don't have that. Like, I just looking at what that staff has done in recent seasons, it's very hard for me to look at this team with some of the names that they have in the front court and expect anything less than like 11, 12 wins in the ACC, 20, 21 wins overall. And that should be enough at the bare minimum to have you in the NCAA tournament conversation. Now, you get a couple breaks, a couple shots going late. You have a couple close games that go your way, maybe win 1 or 2 games in overtime. We're talking 23 wins, 12 or 13 in the ACC, then you're dancing. Goes the other way, you're a little closer to 500, 19 to 14, something like that. Maybe you're not in the tournament, but I think that they're going to be right there in the, like, I can't
agree.
imagine Brad
think
Brownell not being in the mix.
Yeah, they're going to be in the mix. That's where I'm at. There's just teams in the league that they're just going to be able to hang with and then really put themselves in position to win. It's just it's a make or miss. It's a make or miss game for Clemson, who has a lot of really good older guys, but like you said, not necessarily the 5 stars.
Yep, it's a make or miss game. I'm so glad that we got you back from the NBA ranks because you're starting to pick up some of those buzzwords that us college guys don't like. Man, don't bring make or miss game into the college.
I think make or miss is more applicable for Clemson though, because they're going to be well coached and they're going to be in games. Sometimes you're just like, man, what's happening? I will say some big games on the schedule. I mean, they're playing BYU in New York, playing in the Charleston Classic against a pretty decent field. The non-conference schedule is not all that easy, and then they got to play Alabama in the ACC SEC. So you look at the preparation. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
They get BYU in the Jimmy V, right? Where they play the winner of Florida
Nope.
and UConn. Is that right?
I think it's just a one-off, is it not?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's just Clemson BYU.
Yeah.
Are you coming up for that?
I don't know that answer because I don't know who I'm employed by at the current moment.
Well, TL, let me just say this. If there's an
Theo
opportunity
has no job. Theo has no job.
for someone that has no job, I've been to your house. You're doing pretty well.
Fair.
All right, give me your offseason grade for the Tigers.
I'm going B plus. And the thing that's keeping me from an A is really production at the guard spot. That's what's keeping me away from an A. I think it's really close to getting up there, but the front court additions I really really like. And Nick Davidson's solid. I'm telling you though, this Carter Welling kid, if it comes together and it shows what I think it could, that could be an exciting situation.
Yep. I went with a B, similar reasoning, but I mean, you lose Ian Shefflin, you lose Jaden Zachary, you lose Victor Locke, and you lose Chase Hunter. Like they lost a ton, man, and all of it's a graduation. It's not like they're hemorrhaging
Well,
transfers.
but I mean, Victor Locken was there for a year. Jaden Zachary was there for a year.
No, I
You
know,
know what I mean?
but you're still like when you lose that many,
Yeah.
like their top four scorers are all gone and graduated, right? Like it is what it is, man. Sometimes it's going to be hard for you to restack that. They have one guy returning, one guy, and they did a good job. I just
I
it
mean,
kind of
really,
is what it is.
you have Dallas Thomas who redshirted last year. That was a top 80 kid. Clemson.
You're right.
This this
I
is
should the
this
one
is a
guy back
completely
that
different
played.
conversation.
Yeah,
Completely
one.
different conversation. It doesn't belong here. But redshirting is becoming more and more popular now,
Mhm.
and I don't think that's a bad thing. I
I,
don't think
I
that's a bad thing.
I do not either, especially when those NIL checks for you clear for you not
Yep.
playing. I wish I could get paid to sit on the bench. I was really good at sitting on the bench, To. I wish I got paid for
You got fired every other week, didn't
it. Yeah, pretty much.
you?
Listen, this has been the Field of 68 off-season grades. That was the Clemson Tigers. That was Terrence Oglesby. My name is Rob Doster. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel and our podcast feed. There are about 30 of these up there right now. Hopefully, we're going to get a couple more coming out here before we really dive into college basketball previews. But T.O., always good to see you, my man. Appreciate you being here. Field of 68 off-season grades.